Hey everybody, it's John from Tugboat's Landing. I am exceptionally lucky today to be talking with Mr. Graham Shaw, who you all probably know as the composer for Theodore Tugboat, but is of course so much more, but we'll get into that. Graham, how you doing?
Good, man. How you doing?
Doing good. So awesome to be talking with you. It's crazy. Through doing this kind of thing, we wind up talking with a lot of people that, when we think about it, really kind of shaped our childhoods in a way.
Yeah.
So it's awesome to be talking with you. Before we talk about Theodore, let's just go way back for a second. How did you first get into music?
Oh, like any other kid, probably my age. See, how old are you?
I'm 22.
Yeah, okay. Well, see, I'm 70. So we got different roots, my son. Although we share Theodore Tugboat, which is pretty cool, is it not?
Yeah.
When I was maybe 12, 14, see, the Beatles came up, but my parents always played music, so music was part of my life. My parents had a band during the Depression, which would be about 60 years before you were born, my son, and they had a band that got $5 a night, accordion, violin, piano, and saxophone. They'd play the local things in Saskatchewan kind of thing, so music's in the blood.
Awesome. And so I know you were in a couple local bands, and I believe the most popular one was the Sincere Serenaders, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then how did you sort of pivot into doing jingles?
Well, it was all over the place. I had bands since I was about 15, 16. Then a guy came to the bar where I was playing with one band at a jingle company, so I started writing jingles. Then the Serenaders, the third permutation, V.3 of the Serenaders, got a record deal with Capitol Records in the States, so we had a little bit of a fling as pop stars. Then I was always doing television music and jingles then, and as a matter of fact, back when I was kind of just starting to be a pop star in Winnipeg is when I first met Andrew Cochran, who is, the Lord Jesus himself, the God on high of this entire Megillah, and he hired me to do a television spot for a TV show, or maybe I got that a little backwards. Maybe Duncan McCoon got me to do a television spot, and then he hooked up with Andrew Cochran, who at that point was running a lot of things. Man, that guy was a boy wonder. He was, I think, running the CTV News Network when he was like 26, right? So this guy's not kidding around. He's serious. So force of nature is our Andrew. And so he hired me to do a thing. So I did a lot of television work for Andrew. And the last thing we did together, well, the second last thing, was he came up with Theodore Tugboat. And he asked if I'd do the music for that. And I said, well, but so, it was supposed to be a homegrown East Coast thing, although Andrew and I worked together so much. I'm kind of his John Williams, say he's Spielberg kind of. He'll generally come to me, right? Back in the good old days when we were working. And we had quite an adventure getting Theodore floated, excuse the pun, but then he came to me and asked me if I'd just demo one of the spots. It was, I think, it was when Theodore went into a very spooky kind of cove or something like that. And that was I think the demo for that was before the Texas oil rig, which is I think the first one I did once I got that job, right? But so I did it with sound effects and all that stuff. With a fine guy named Bill Turgenis did the sound effects for me, and we got to go. Then we did I don't know how many episodes did we do? Over 100, right?
135.
My golly.
That's fascinating that you mention the Scary Cove episode, because that episode finishes with something very similar to what became the opening theme song. It has a little bit more of an instrumental build-up. So I'm wondering now if that was the original. And you're correct. The Texan oil rig episode, it's kind of the first episode. The chronology of the first season of Theodore especially was very, very weird. They wrote it and filmed it in one order, and the official on the record order is a little bit different to that, and then the broadcast order was completely different to that. So it was a little confusing.
Yeah, I paid no attention to that. And the guy who played the harbor master, Denny Dory, right, from Mamas and Papas?
Yep.
We never met until about 3 years after production of that thing.
Wow.
So a lot of things were disjointed in this particular production, if you catch my drift.
Well, as it is on the sea.
Yeah,
So, just quickly, in terms of getting the job for Theodore, do you recall having any competition to get the job?
yeah. The deal was part of his mandate was to hire locally in the eastern region, as we call the Maritimes here in Canada. And but he, as I mentioned a little before, he and I would work together so often. It was like peas and carrots, if you know what I mean. So he wanted me, but we had to go through basically a vetting thing, and everybody did their demo, and I did the demo of the Spooky Cove, and I was the lucky winner. Bingo, right?
That's amazing. And so by that point, they had footage then.
Yeah. Oh, it was a thing. It was a whole show. I don't know how disjointed I don't know what level of editing it was, but what they gave me in a 3/4 inch tape, VHS tape, no, not even VHS, 3/4 inch, big fat tape, yeah. uh, was the first thing I saw of it. I'd seen some pictures because we met up before. We talked about it. We're talking about another job we were doing. I forget what it was about, maybe the internet or something like that. And I saw pictures of it. That's the first I saw of it. And it just had Denny talking and them floating around.
Absolutely.
Very kind of spooky with no sound effects because all the engines and the harbor ambience and stuff like that. Big part of the soundscape, right?
It is, absolutely. And there's one or two times in the show when the tugboat horns themselves become instruments and they play in key with you.
Yeah, well, actually, I played in key with them. I got that thing and adjusted my key to them.
Really? Oh, that's interesting. Because
yeah.
wow, the one example I'm thinking of, it's one that I sent you a recreation of. There's an episode that starts off with Mr. Hank having a nice day, and he has this like bluesy little harmonica song that goes with him. And at one point, he blows a hello to the harbor, and he's in key with the harmonica. And that's
well, you know what? That might be. Bill was the sound guy. I'm going to remember his last name in a second. Really liked him a lot, Bill
Mather.
Bill Mather, and yeah, he might have done that after in post. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, I would do the music, and then they'd send it to Bill. Well, no, let me get this. Yeah, then they'd send it to Bill. He'd do the mix, the soundscape and the mix. He's great, by the way. Big player. Show is Mather.
Yeah, the sound in Theodore was always fantastic. And the theme song is just the biggest earworm. It is such a it is the embodiment of just joy and happiness. It is perfect for Theodore. And it's a little hard to imagine it with
Go ahead.
It's a little hard to imagine it with any other theme song, but was that when you were coming up with it, was that always the theme song, or were there any other options?
I have to think. But a long time ago, I don't remember. I just like some of the stuff I write, just like I write it in like 10, 15 minutes. I think Theodore was one of those I didn't have to agonize over it. I actually had a last lyric line that Andy wouldn't let me use.
Yeah.
He goes, Emily, Foda, Kanka, George, and the harbor master too. Right is the last thing. Well, I went, what a joy to be a tugboat on the briny blue sea. I thought I'd have a vocal tagline there. Graham, he never gets out on the ocean, although he did get out in the ocean finally one time. So anyway,
there's a little god.
Andy only told me no twice in the entire. We did 32 shows. You said 135 shows.
Yeah.
He told me no maybe twice. He pretty well gave. I love that guy. He just let me do what I wanted, and we seemed to agree it wasn't bad, right? But he said there'll be no last line to that theme song.
What was the other no?
Oh, it wasn't no. It was like a change. When I think it was Hank was like you know this stuff way more magnascopically than I do. When Hank finally got back to the safe harbor, a light went on in his berth, and I had to put a ding in there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think of that, but who gets me on the phone says, "Put a ding when the light comes."
Oh man, that's amazing. I can't get over that missing lyric. That's so because that little dun 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 that's like the fanfare of the whole show.
Yeah, well, it's nautical, right? Which is why I did it. It's supposed to sound like a hornpipe, and I'm two ways. I like them both, right? But in terms of Andrew's Bible, so to speak, his Majesty's Bible, his worship's Bible, like he really was the god of this show, as far as I'm concerned, right? I trust his instincts were always so good, right? In terms of his Bible, no, couldn't use the last line, so I just said, yeah, you know, I didn't feel in any way thwarted by the fact he did that.
That's the kind of stuff we love learning. Those little tidbits. That's like, oh yeah, this was a thing. No, that's amazing. We didn't know that.
Yeah, for us, it was just every day, right? You say, what do we do next, right? You just look around, and what do you do next, right?
Yeah. So now you were working remote on Theodore, correct?
Yeah. They were shooting in Halifax. I got up the set. It was incredible, man. I wish you could have seen it live, you guys. It was astounding. It was so cool. I went up there for the first season. They had a celebration or something like that, and Andrew gave us all sweatshirts. And I flew out there and went to the school where in the gymnasium, excuse me, where they had the set, which is a big pool. You've seen all this tech stuff where it flows over the edge, which gives it an unlimited horizon. Well, I saw it for the first time then, right?
Yeah.
And it was so cool, man. It was ingenious. And it was like, computer generation has taken so much magic to me out of it. Seeing these guys doing it in real three-dimensional hip waiter life, with their things with the antennae and watching it. And it was just fascinating. It was beautiful to see.
Yeah, I mean, we all really wish we could have visited the set in person. I mean, obviously we have a bunch of pictures on the website that we've been given by some very generous people, so we've been able to see the set. Yeah, so it's really amazing, all the stuff that they did. And I guess that answers the question: did you ever visit the set? I'm jealous that you got to visit.
It was pretty neat. I went out there twice related to Theodore, and the other one was when they launched Theodore 2.
You were there.
Yeah, I flew up for that one, and that was pretty cool. It was, wow.
There's video of that on YouTube.
But I was more impressed, I think, with the set. It was just all these guys, dedicated to each character, right?
Yeah.
I wish I'd been there when the Queen was there, or the cool cruiser, or what was her name that I had to do a little jazz combo.
Carla.
Yeah, Carla, right? Yeah, just watching all those guys driving those boats around. Every kid's dream, right?
Yes.
To have a remote tugboat that's this big. Very exciting stuff, right?
They are big.
Just went, wow, how cool is that, right?
Yeah.
Better than cars.
Because I got to see them, me and the team, we went to Halifax last summer, and we got to see the models at the Maritime Museum. And they had been taken out of the display for restoration, so they were in the back room on like a table, and we got to see them all close up. And they're so much bigger than I was expecting. It's like,
they're huge, right?
It was hard to imagine George, the big one. He was in the water and moving around. It's so hard to imagine seeing that.
It's big, right?
Huge.
Yeah, very cool, man. With their own motors and stuff. No, they weren't kidding around. I wish you'd have seen this set, you poor guys. I'm sad for you.
If they ever invent a time machine. So, in terms of the process of scoring, to the best of your recollection, how finished were the episodes when you got them?
Oh, pretty well finished.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought, because by the time Mather got them doing the sound, they were finished. I would have to say finished.
When you got them, did they have the sound from Denny Doherty doing the narration yet, or was it temporary?
Yeah, absolutely. It had Denny, and I think there might have been. I don't know if they pastiche it with some ambient sound or not, but I got the final cut. I have to assume that because it went to me then to score it, and then it went to Bill Mather to do the sound effects and final mix. So if he's doing the final mix on it, they're not going to be tinkering with it after that, right?
Okay, we've heard little bits here and there that people like Andrew Cochran did temporary narration before Denny got in to record his, but that might have just been for editing.
No, nothing about that. That's before it came to my desk, right?
All right. So speaking of your desk, what was your studio like?
It was stupid. It was my basement mostly. Just my basement with some old sample gear, some old Roland sampling gear, stuff that I had like 22. That puts you born in 1998,
Yes.
right? Or a ballpark, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was doing this stuff in 1990, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the sampling gear I was using, very effective, but crude by today's standard, was 3 or 4 sampling boxes, a really dickish little Macintosh computer with a screen about that big. What was it called? A Mac something. Mac, I forget what it was called. You know, really Stone Age stuff. One keyboard. That was it. And one mic for recording. One to say when I do a live. A lot of the stuff was computer generated, but harmonica and stuff like that, I'd be doing live overdubs. And it was in my basement. And that was it. You know, one big rack of gear, a table, a keyboard, little dinky computer, and that was it.
And I believe I wrote to you. I've written to you a couple times over the years. The first time when I was very, very young, I wrote to you, and you mentioned that it was all sequenced through like a very primitive version of Digital Performer.
Yeah, it was Digital Performer. It was just like version 0.14 or something like that. It worked fine. All the improvements they've done, I haven't seen a whole lot of great improvements in performance. But now it loads a whole lot more digital information.
Yeah.
There I was running samplers, right? So it was just MIDI signals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your techies will know this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just firing synapses into all this gear. Now my setup is I don't have any more outboard instruments, really. I got 1 or 2 because I do great pads, synth pads and stuff. But yeah, it was pretty old-time stuff, man.
So speaking of synth pads, that's an integral part of Theodore's sound. Those beautiful, evolving pads, not inherently nautical because they're so modern sounding, but at the same time they work so well. How did you go about sort of finding the sound for Theodore?
I am not I do not over intellectualize this stuff. It just felt really right because it reminded me of the ocean, of a very calm ocean kind of thing. I think it's a sample out of maybe a Roland, probably an 880 or something like that.
I think that pad sound, it was on 2 synths. It was either, I've always wanted to ask you about this, it was either the JD 800, which was a keyboard, or the 990, which was a rack.
Well, I had a 990 and a 1010, so it was probably the 990. Might have been called Fantasia something, but it's been a long time ago.
Hearts of Space.
Is it?
That's what it's called, the pad.
Ah, cool.
I have a pretty good idea what all the Theodore sounds are. It's the ones that mystify me are like the lesser used ones. Like I don't know like what exact oboe you used or anything like that.
The cello sounds when he's doing his hard tugging stuff. That's just one single cello played way below his range, and that's got gumption, doesn't it?
Yeah. And now in terms of other specific synths, you had a D50, I believe, right? Or did you have the D550, the rack?
At the 550.
Okay.
And I had 7 TX8s, are they called? The Yamaha little things. Just giving her a backbeat. It's just giving her a backbeat like a reggae backbeat. That's all. It's basically a reggae thing. The thing was with Theodore, which I really wanted, and Andrew really wanted too. We weren't making the music for kids, right? We're making it for everybody. So it wasn't like the polka dot door, where the kid wants to blow his brains out after about 8 seconds, right? So that Jamaican backbeat just kind of gave it part of a groove, right? Without that groove in the backbeat, it's not going to move.
Right? Of course, because Theodore used drums pretty sparingly, and honestly, a lot of times I noticed you use the kick drum instead of the snare. You do the kick drum on 2 and 4.
That's your reggae influence right there, right?
Yeah, I never thought of it as that. Wow.
There you sit. It sits right there. So
yeah,
it's gonna influence too, just because it's got a good groove, very easygoing groove. It's back of the pocket, I didn't think of it that consciously, but now that we pointed out, yeah.
So, when you actually sat down to score an episode, did you have like spotting sheets or cue lists from Andrew, or did you just kind of do it?
No, just went right at it. Oh, this is happening. I'm playing along, and he goes, "Oh," and you back it up, and you go, dun, 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 right? You know, you just kind of watch it, and you kind of roll with it. That's all I did. And I started. This is an interesting thing. Started like most people do it. Like I've seen so many shows where they just have a library, and they'll just cut and paste as appropriate. And I tried that, and it was just so much work, cutting and pasting, and then finding, okay, here's a scary sound. And so it's just way easier just to kind of. I ended up jamming with the show. That was it. That simple. And I just watch it and I just play along with it, like an old lady in a movie theater at the turn of the century, just watching the action. That's basically how I wrote it.
That's amazing.
And of course, some of the themes would reoccur. You know, if Theodore was doing a tough tugging, I had that musical thing in my head. I never cut and pasted it, but I played the same thing again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And when a Queen turned up, I'd play the Queen tune, and you know, everybody had their tune in a way, right? Or different their sound.
Yeah. So the music was being sequenced through Digital Performer on the Apple computer.
Right.
What was like what was it all? Was there any multi-track going on, or was it just all live MIDI happening?
It was all live MIDI stuff, going right to, and then I just do it right to a DAT tape, digital audio tape. And I'd send it to Bill. Say, Bill, okay, here you go, Bill. And he'd go, thanks, Graham. And, you know, he'd take his, I'd take me 2 or 3 days to write one, maybe.
A whole
some
episode?
were long. Yeah, some were longer, some were shorter. Like, I'd work right through, you know, till I fell down, right? But then Bill would have it for I don't know how long. And he'd do his work, and then away we go. Send it back to those guys.
We heard from someone that they could turn around an episode in like a week or two, like from getting the footage back from the set to having a finished episode would be like,
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Wow.
That sounds about right. I was in my little cave doing my little music and stuff like that, and then then I'd watch the final product because it was a good show. I liked the show, right?
Yeah, it was a great show. It was so wonderful, and I grew up seeing it on PBS, which I believe aired it a little bit delayed from Canada, because technically the show ended for you guys in 98 or 99, but we got it until about 2001.
Yeah, that's good because I got the royalty check still in too, so that's a pleasant thought.
Now, one interesting thing, the PBS episodes were slightly different in terms of the theme song. They shortened the opening a little bit. But they also gave it words, because one thing I've always found strange about the original episodes, it opens with the instrumental and finishes with the lyric version.
Yeah.
That seems backwards from how I would normally think it would be.
I liked it that way. I don't know why. And me and Andrew agreed on it. We must have, because, you know, that's the way it went. That's the way I did it at first. I didn't really notice that. But, you know, they in PBS in their wisdom decided, just like Gilligan's Isle, you do the little story theme song at the beginning, like Beverly Hillbillies or whatever. And I guess they just decided that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I never noticed that. I never watched it on PBS because it was CBC here, the National Broadcasting Company here. So
yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah, I didn't see the original Canadian opening for a long time. I mean, it's mostly the same. It's like kind of the same footage. They just chopped it off at one point, but I didn't see that for years. And the instrumental.
Well, it must have been different for you because you're used to the PBS cut, right?
Yeah, I mean, the rest of the episodes are the same, but I had never heard the instrumental version of the theme, which is actually, it's a little bit of a different mix. It's a lot heavier. It's cool.
Good.
God, they went to so many countries with that show.
Yeah. 62 is the number I heard. There would, a lot of, because the royalty checks would come in and they'd be from all over the place. Some were like actually bands of European areas, but then, one from the Netherlands, from Sicily, from Borneo, wherever it played, right?
That's amazing. And we don't even know the full extent of it, because a lot of those dubs and broadcasts weren't taken note of, or nobody recorded them, so some of them are just kind of lost to the ether.
Oh, as long as it made people happy, is good enough, right?
That's the point of Theodore, making people happy, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah, it is, isn't it? And yeah, Andrew had, as I said, some pretty clear objectives with that show and what he wanted it to be, and he stuck to them very firmly and very justly, I thought.
so. You did Theodore for God, I don't even know how many years it would have been.
5, 6, maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
When did you know that the show? Yeah, so it went 5 seasons. Did you know that the fifth was going to be the last one? Did you think they were going to do more?
No, I didn't think about it. I think I just, I was doing a lot of other stuff then, a whole lot of jingles and television music and stuff like that. But not, I don't remember hearing about it or even thinking about it. I'm sure I was told. So,
That's you must have been told at some point.
yeah, I'm still waiting. I'm still
So, hey
waiting.
Andrew, where's the boats? I haven't seen them in a
Wait for the
while.
episode, Andy. Come on, bud.
Moving forward from Theodore, did did Theodore perhaps open up any new opportunities going forward?
Mm, no, I didn't get contacted by any other kids shows or anything like that. No, and I'm not very aggressive sales wise. My entire sales technique consists of answering the phone. So, I didn't go out and, with a big demo tape with all the stuff I've done, right? I've done a lot of stuff. Now, I don't know, I guess I'm lazy. But no, not really. Anytime Andrew had a project, um, I'd get the work. I got some other work out of the East Coast by way of Andrew, who's running the CBC after Tugboat went belly up. And even that I lost to, once again, library music because they were paying me a certain amount and they could get library music to do a show. One, say, for example, called, I forgot, Land and Sea, and I would score it. But they just, one day got one of their editors just did the cut and paste stuff and it cost them $150. So once again, follow the money, right?
Yeah, it's never the same. It's never the
No,
same when you do it that way.
no, it sure isn't. It isn't. I could even notice that. There's a lot of wonderful shows here on the Animal Planet or whatever it's called, but it's all stock music, right?
Yeah. Now, what about new music? Because I know you did your solo album a number of years ago. Do you have any more
I'm
plans coming?
working on one right now. I'll send you a couple of cuts. And did I send you any cuts yet?
No, I follow your SoundCloud though. I see the ones you put up
Oh, okay.
temporarily.
So they, the new ones I put up and I take them down, right?
Yeah.
And just give folks a taste. Also, just because I need a little attention. But everything because of the plague here, COVID-19, right? Everything is pretty well ground to a halt. So the final stages of production, I have to go to Winnipeg to do it, and so I'm just waiting. Everything's on hold, man.
And like what sort of flavor is it? Because I know I've from what I've listened to, it's a lot. You do a lot of rock and blues.
Yeah, well, it's all over the map because there's a couple of country ones, there's a couple of folk sounding ones. I don't know, all over the map, I'd say. Incoherent, let's call it.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to that. I guess to kind of sort of sum this all together. Is there any advice you would give to aspiring musicians or composers or creators?
There's not much I can give someone who is more fluent in the language of doing business would be a better guy than me. But if you love it, keep at it. Don't give up until you absolutely have to. That's all. I've made a life of music. Lucky enough, a lot of very talented people are still flipping burgers, right? So it's a bit of luck, but if you keep at it, you will realize your potential or lack thereof during the process of keeping at it. I guess that's my advice.
Okay. And then is there anything else you would like to
I
say?
just say, well, hi to you guys. I'm just so delighted to know that you guys are enjoying this. It's quite a nice legacy. It makes me very happy and grateful. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Well, I mean, we wouldn't love it as much if it didn't have your music, Graham.
So,
It's
thank you.
part of Theodore's lasting legacy. So thank you, Graham, so much for talking with us. This has been This has been fantastic. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll hopefully have some more interviews coming in the future. Until then, we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Thank you.